Ja gut, Tag allerseits bei Kafka Deluxe, die Interviews, dem neuen Gesprächsformat bei Deluxe Music. Wir sind in Clärchens Ballhaus in Berlin und bei mir ist einer der erfolgreichsten Künstler dieses Jahrtausends und einer der supersten Typen im Showgeschäft, James Blunt. Welcome to the show.
Vielen Dank.
I announce you as one of the most successful artists in this millennium and one of the nicest blokes in show business. Is that okay?
Thank you, and the check is in the post.
I appreciate that. So we're at Clärchens Ballhaus where you played a deluxe music session. First of all, how did you like it? How do you like the location?
I mean, what an amazing room, really, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, it's a beautiful old wood-panelled room, this amazing floor, but really fantastic sound as well. That's just got a natural reverberation, so I might do all my performances here from now on.
Yeah, you totally filled the room with your voice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, interesting places to sing, you know, what makes, for me, you know, different places exciting. That's why people sing in showers, isn't it? They have the same kind of reverberation, and yeah, this is a special place.
It's a turn-of-the-century ballroom. Are you a good pair dancer with classic dances?
Well, I live in Ibiza, so I don't necessarily dance in a classical style, just more with enthusiasm and sort of 2 left feet.
Like to dance music?
Yeah.
So you're a big club dancer.
I do. I really like electronic music, which is, you know, people are surprised by because my music's much more gentle than that, sometimes on a guitar or a piano, but that's, you know, when I'm writing songs. But when I'm out and about, yeah, I like the clubs of Ibiza, and that's why I live there.
How can we imagine you dancing to a club tune?
Well, I suppose, you know, the proof is in the pudding, and I've worked, my song 1973 is
like dedication
about
to Pasha,
Pasha
right?
nightclub, which opened in the same year. And then Pete Tong, who's a friend of mine, he had a residency there, and he would play that song in Pasha itself, his own remix of it. And there's a club called Ushuaia, and I've gone and performed there with Kygo, and then I worked with Germany's own Robin Schulz with their song called OK, and so yeah, in the club scene and electronic music is something I really enjoy.
One of my favorite places to go to and club. I once played at Space.
Fantastic.
Yeah, which was one of my favorite clubs in Ibiza.
Yeah, sadly it's no more.
No.
It's now called High, and they've developed it a lot. You know, so it's still, you can have really fun nights there, but the old Space was fantastic.
So yeah, Ibiza is a British colony anyways. It's like you did to the island what we did to Mallorca, right?
The Germans, yeah, you have Mallorca. We have a small section of Ibiza, mainly San Antonio, which I would recommend you avoid.
Yeah.
And the Italians, they always get the best things. The Italians, they have good taste. So they really colonized Formentera, the island.
So now you're back in Germany, which you were expelled from when the pandemic hit, and you were on tour here?
Exactly.
You had to go back home?
Yeah. I think that the German government were trying to create ways to get rid of me, and so they created a thing called coronavirus, and my tour was cancelled halfway through, and I was sent home, which was really, you know, obviously a very sad moment. We had a concert in Hamburg. You'll have to remind me of the name of the venue, the Elbphilharmonie or something like that.
Elbphilharmonie, yeah. This classical place?
Exactly. And we played a ghost concert with no one in their seats, but we streamed it to the people at home, and it was very moving because we were sending the band and the crew home, and we didn't know for how long.
The pandemic is still going on. Nevertheless, you were allowed to come back to Germany.
Thank you.
For doing the finale of The Voice and for doing this deluxe music session. Anyway, you have a good connection to Germany still, right? I mean, you once lived here. I
have an amazing connection with Germany, and it's so amazing for me that it's the place I get to tour probably the most in the world. Because I lived here as a child when I was about 10 and 11 years old. I lived near a place called Soest, on a lake called the Monasee, and the garden that around the house ran into the lake on 3 sides of the house, and at winter we would ice skate or play ice hockey on the frozen lake and windsurf in the summer, and it was an amazing place to grow up. The woman who owned the house was called Frau Hildenstock, and she gave us chocolates, and we called her Frau Choc. and I have magical memories. And then I started doing music, and it's amazing to me that I come back to Germany quite so often, and I've been welcomed here. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, people love you over here. And I mean, to tell you the truth, regarding this deluxe music session, you're the first artist to deliver first takes only.
Well, you know, time is money.
You're a pro. And I have to add that it's Sunday morning, which is like a total unrock and roll time. But it works for you, obviously.
I mean, if you'd given me the choice of doing it later in the day, I would have accepted that. You know, Sunday morning was a push. And the voice never works that well early mornings. Oh. But you know, I didn't know I could have asked you to do it later. You should have told me. I would have definitely taken you up at 9 p.m.
What's the stuff you're doing on Sunday mornings usually?
As a musician, I hope to be sleeping till about midday. Mm-hmm. I'm a general believer that nothing fun happens in the morning. I mean, the morning is when you pay your bills, answer emails. Fun things start from lunchtime onwards.
Or you come back from a club on Ibiza.
Definitely. That's still considered the night, really, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And plus, once you're a father and you have kids, they want to be entertained on Sunday morning.
That's what they invented the iPad for.
There you go.
It's called a square au pair.
Now, speaking about family, most important things in regards to that, how's your father?
My father's really well, thank you for asking. Yeah, he had stage 4 chronic kidney disease, and so I wrote the song Monsters for him. And I mean, it was really, obviously, a moment in my life where I realized that the man I have idolized and who has looked after me and guided me through my own life might be coming to the end of his was a really very sad and scary moment, which is why, obviously, the song came very quickly. Remarkably, a namesake of his called Charles Blunt, the same name as my father, gave him a kidney, and now my father is alive and well, and looking much healthier. Because they had the same name, it was quite a moment during the operation. 2 Charles Blunts lined up. I was quite nervous that, you know, the surgeon might take the wrong kidney from the wrong person. So I wrote on my father's forehead and the other Charles Blunt on his forehead. So I would give her on one and take her on the other. So
is he like a cousin? Because you couldn't donate, right? Because you had the wrong blood type.
Very fortunately for me, I couldn't donate. But yeah, he's a distant cousin. But now we feel he's much more close.
Very close, yeah, sure. When you wrote the song, which you also played in the deluxe music session, your father was in very ill health, so you wouldn't know if he would live on. Like, if he didn't get a donation, then probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's why, you know, often I talk about him and his health, but actually it's the donor one should talk about. The guy who donated the kidney is a remarkable human being. But amazingly, humans can donate, and he's alive and well himself and lives a normal life. He has 1 kidney, and my father has 3.
3?
Because they just strap one on.
Ah. But as you just pointed out, it's like a weird point in your life, because when you look at your father, he's your hero for a very long time. And then, like you say in the song, you become friends, and then there's this time starting when you have to be there for your father.
Yeah. I think I could only write the song because I have children myself. Mm-hmm. And because when you see your own child and hear the language they use and understand what it is that you have to give them, only then do you really appreciate what your parents have done for you. And so when my father became unwell also, the language I was using at the time was very much orientated around my own children and the fears that they might have, the monsters that they might see at night, their own little struggles as they you know, find themselves on planet Earth. And so that's why the song is really written with an innocence of a child. Only because I can see the circle of life now with my father and my own children.
And then again, you are still a child yourself when it comes to your father. And he regards you as a child, probably.
Absolutely. And so we did a video for the song, and he was in the video. And the song talks about it's my turn to chase the monsters away, meaning it's my turn to look after you. but you can really see in the video that that's not true. He will always be my father because I'm the one crying, and he's the one, and he's not, and he's the one with his arm on my shoulder looking after me. So yeah, I can lie to myself and say it's my turn to look after you, but he will always be the person caring for me in that way.
It was so deeply moving. Probably everybody at the set cried except for him.
Exactly that. I mean, he's quite a stoic human being, and he kept on asking, like, why are you all crying? I mean, I'm still alive.
But when you played the song to him for the very first time, what was his reaction?
I was quite nervous to play him the song because the language is very direct. You know, I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And I mean it with the greatest of respect to him, which is that whilst he may be my father, he's also deeply my friend, and that my eyes aren't clouded by the paternal relationship. Instead, I recognize his flaws and he knows mine, and so we see each other with the greatest of love as equals to care for each other.
What kind of father are you yourself? How old are your sons?
You'd have to ask them as to whether I am, but I had the best father in the world, so I hope I learned from the best.
So you're not like a helicopter dad. You give them their freedom, their space.
I mean, I'm really hands-on, but at the same time, I go away a lot. I mean, we've had a pandemic, and I've been at home much more than I would normally be, which is a blessing in many ways. But I write songs about being away from home, and obviously, it's a huge sacrifice in many ways. But it's me being quite selfish at the same time because it's my dream that I'm chasing. It's my passion of music that I chase, and I go away on tour for up to 18 months at a time, and I'm the one having great fun while I leave people behind. So yeah, it's a struggle, and I write songs about it.
Do they like your music?
They have better taste than that.
Now, probably they're not allowed to read their dad's Twitter account and tweets, right? Because it's at times sometimes explicit. My
Twitter account is, yes, it is embarrassingly rude at times, childish probably, and yeah, anyone with any dignity probably should avoid it.
Now, to make that clear, there's not a brilliant agency behind that or a ghostwriter, it's you writing this stuff.
I think you couldn't pay anyone any amount of money to be as obscene on social media as I am. But for me, the social media world is pretty ugly. Humans can be really unkind to each other on social media. We kind of, when we're not face-to-face, when we're just writing online, we seem to think that our opinion is fact. And we also forget just the notion of compassion and care. And so when I go on social media, really I'm just laughing at myself for being there, at all of us for taking ourselves quite so seriously. And I do try and avoid it on the whole, because I think the real world is much more civil and kind.
The amazing thing is that even people that hate your music love your Twitter account.
People hate my music?
There's a few. I mean, they are very outspoken about that.
No way, I didn't know that. I think if you put music out, you are always going to have people who don't like it. And the more visible you become, the more people you are going to say they don't like it, whilst you might have thousands who do. And it's human nature to always talk about the handful of people who might not. We can talk about the same with Coldplay and Ed Sheeran. Lots of people might say that they don't enjoy their stuff, but millions more love it. Mm. And it's strange that human nature is to focus on the few, negative or naysayers, when the positives normally really outweigh them, which is another reason why I feel fairly confident online, is that, we could go online and find 5 negative comments, but I can do a concert, in an arena to 20,000 people. That seems to outweigh the 5 negatives online. If you think logical, yes, it does. But as you said, like Ed Sheeran, for instance, he totally quit the Twitter business because it got to him. Yeah, and how sensible is he? Because Twitter's not the real world. Mm-hmm.
So, does your irony help you to like cope with negative stuff going on there?
Well, I suppose in some way I was in the army before I went into music, and in the army we're always quite direct with each other. We're always quite rude to each other, and for me that's almost a sign of affection. Even at the school I went to, from 7 years old, my parents sent me to a boarding school. I slept at the school, and we never called each other by our first names. We called each other by our last names all the time. No one ever called me James. My name was Blunt. So we're really direct with each other. And so in many ways online, when someone's rude, I think it must be a sign of affection, deep down.
Probably is, yeah.
I'm just pleased for the message.
So it doesn't give you sleepless nights?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. I think when I first started doing music, it came as a surprise that people could feel such vitriol, hatred towards something, just like a song. I mean, because surely they could figure out how to just press stop or change the radio station rather than getting quite so upset. So that was a shock. But then kind of got used to it and learned to feel at ease with it, because life's been pretty good.
I was wondering why it started in the first place. Do you think it was because you became successful very quickly?
Like I say, I think if you're just very visible, you're going to have some people who don't enjoy what you do. That's just by the nature of the beast, and it's interesting that we might talk about it. But as I say, the number of positives far outweigh that. I've sold a few million albums. That's a million positives. Why are we obsessing about just a handful of negatives? It's kind of madness.
That's how humans are, probably.
Yeah.
Focus on the negative things.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm like that.
I can tell.
Completely. You can tell, of course. Do people say anything to your face when they meet you on the streets?
Yeah, people are incredibly sweet to me. They always want to say hi, get a picture, and people are face to face. Humans are much nicer than online.
Amazing that no one ever cursed at you.
No, only my wife.
Now, what requires more courage? Going on an operation in the army or singing your heart out on a stage?
Definitely going on operations, absolutely. But then you're surrounded by a team, and they carry you, and you look after each other, and that's a really amazing experience to come under fire. And instead of feeling fear, to feel camaraderie is an amazing sensation, to look at each other in that situation and realize that you're all moving in the same direction, like a football team, is an amazing experience. But then there's a different kind of sensation of going on stage. And again, it's one of the things I feel that when people are critical about a singer-songwriter who might be emotional on stage rather than a rock and roll band who go out there and, and thrash a guitar. As an emotional singer, I get up and do something which takes a certain amount of courage too. I get up there, and without fear, I remove effectively all the barriers, all the shell, all the skin, all my clothes. I stand there and reveal, without bravado, my failings, my weaknesses, my fears, on a stage, stared at by tens of thousands of people. And there's definitely a certain courage in that. And at the same time, there's a reward in doing that, because the audience connect and feel the same way and say, yeah, you know what, I feel the same way as a human. To connect through similar human emotion is incredibly rewarding.
You were in a service from 1996 until 2002?
Exactly.
Right? Did you already play music and to your comrades when you were in the service?
Yeah, I played the guitar and the piano from, I guess, the piano from 7 years old, the guitar from 14 years old. I decided at 14 that I'd be a professional musician, but because the army paid for my education, I had to join the army for 4 years. I ended up staying for 6 because I had some amazing experiences there. But I took my guitar and I played to people. I wouldn't play "Goodbye My Lover" to a bunch of soldiers because I didn't want to be beaten up. But so I'd choose your song and for the audience. And but yeah, I suppose if you're in the army, you need different distractions. Someone brings a football, someone brings a pack of cards, and I bring a guitar to lower morale.
How did you carry it around?
It depends how you're traveling. When I went on operations to Kosovo in '99, you just stick yourself in your tank. The guitar's a bit big, so I strapped it to the outside of the tank. I wanted to strap a soldier to the outside instead so that my guitar could be in the tank and safe, but they don't allow you to do that. The soldiers have to go on the inside of the tank.
Speaking about Kosovo in 1999, there was a serious incident at Pristina airport, right?
Yeah.
Which made you, and you in person, probably prevent World War III.
Well, that's the kind of wording. But the reality was it was the most amazing day of my life. And we had been through a bombing campaign for a few months, and that was on the Macedonia-Kosovo border. We were, at that stage, trying to stop the Serb army and the Kosovo Liberation Army fighting each other, but as a consequence of their struggle, lots of civilians were being killed. So NATO started a bombing campaign to try and stop the Serbs doing that. And then a peace accord was signed, and that day I was then sent in to lead the column of 30,000 NATO troops from the Macedonia border up to Pristina, the capital. And I suppose that's quite high pressure because, you're going through mine tunnels and minefields, and you're really, with 30,000 people behind you, you really want to make sure you don't go right when you should go left, because to tell 30,000 people you've gone the wrong way would be embarrassing and difficult to get them to find a new route. So quite high pressure. And then we were told we were trying to beat the Russian contingent to Pristina airport. And there were only 200 of them, but they got there first because they were allowed to travel there by the Serbs. And although they were supposed to be on our side, for some reason, they weren't letting us onto the airfield. So we had a Mexican standoff. Our guns pointed at them, their guns pointed at us, and I was given an instruction by a general called Wesley Clark to overrun and overpower them, which seemed a strange instruction because they were supposed to be on our side, and also there were implications of if you kill Russians when we're part of NATO, that would have consequences in the long term, you'd think. So there was a debate about that. And during that instruction, another general who is a British general in charge of us, General Mike Jackson, contested the order and said he wouldn't have his soldiers be responsible for starting World War III. So we were pushed back, surrounded the airport, and when the Russians found after 2 days they had no food and water, they said, hey, could we have food and water? And we said, well, we'll share our food and water if you share the airfield. And so, yeah. So I think you could say General Mike Jackson stopped World War III and James Blunt was there.
How often do you think about this incident or dream about it?
Never really, only when I'm asked about it in interviews. It was the most amazing day, incredible experience and an incredible pressure, with your soldiers' lives around there and incredible political pressures. And that, you have Sky News Channel and other news channels literally around you. And they always like a little bit of action as well. So they're trying to make a little bit of intensity as these things are happening. But no, it seems a long time ago now.
Are you still in touch with some of your comrades from back then?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do concerts all across the world, and as a result of working with NATO, their different armies, I'll be in a concert and the venue manager will say, hey, there are some guys here who knew you from the army, can they come back? And it's really a pleasure always to bump into them wherever we are.
So this was the most exciting thing in your soldier career. What was your the proudest moment in your musical career?
It's hard to say, really. I'm really fortunate. I've got the same band, effectively, almost, and the same crew that I've had for almost 17 years. And we've had some amazing experiences. We played at the Glastonbury Festival. I've been lucky enough to win Echo Awards and Brit Awards or Grammy nominations. They're all amazing moments, but to be with that same band, to tour the world, and to really still be enjoying ourselves and still be friends, the deepest of friends, is probably what I'm most proud about, because we're still really innocent, grounded humans having fun and knowing that we're really lucky to do what we do.
Great to hear. What was the most embarrassing moment?
I've had so many. As you know, my music is not necessarily always considered very rock. And to make up for that, often I've gone out and crowd surfed the audience, because I think that would just be, that would be a surprise. And sure enough, sometimes it is a surprise. The very first time I thought I'll just run and jump, the audience, as I played the piano, ran to the edge, jumped, and the audience just parted, like Moses, the Red Sea. And for a moment, as I flew through the air, I realized what a terrible mistake this had been, because the only thing beneath me was the floor. So I had some friends who'd come from Ibiza. It was in Barcelona, and they were already shaking their heads as I was in midair, thinking, "What an idiot!" Smack on the floor. Asheville, North Carolina. I jumped off the stage. I was running down they were seated, so I was running down the aisle. They were all standing, but I'd bought some new shoes with leather soles, and I fell over, and I broke my finger halfway through. It's still a funny shape. And as I got to the piano, fought my way back to the stage, got to the piano and hit the wrong note. Looked at my finger and realized it was pointing the wrong way. And then I said to my guitar technician as that song ended, I think I've broken my finger. And he's from Glasgow in Scotland, and so he has a great Scottish accent, which I'm not good at impersonating, but he said, "Oh, you've got 9 others." And it was his medical advice. Even after the show, it was strange. I then asked my drummer, "Hey mate, I think I've broken my finger. Look at it, it's a really weird shape." And he said, "No, if you can bend it, you're fine." And 6 weeks later, when I still hadn't seen a doctor and then saw a doctor, the doctor said, "Why did you ask your drummer?"
Good question.
Traditionally, drummers aren't very good at advisors on this.
They have 10 broken fingers, probably.
And probably one of my most embarrassing was at the Glastonbury Music Festival. I'd been there 3 times, playing on the Pyramid stage, which is the main stage. Such an incredible place to play to 80,000 people in the audience. And I jumped off the stage and I crowd surfed over this huge crowd, and then I ran back to the stage and realized the stage was too high for me to climb back onto. And the whole nation, watching as I then can't climb up. And I saw a man on the stage. I didn't recognize him, so I started shouting at him, "Help me, help me." And then I realized he was the BBC TV cameraman with the camera, and I was basically shouting to the nation, "Help me, help me." And that really secured my place as the least cool person in the music business.
What was the weirdest thing that you have ever had thrown on stage at a concert?
The weirdest thing thrown at me during a concert, my best friend, Billy, who I've written a song about, called Billy. It's a really rude song about him, but he threw on a very, very, very large oversized pair of women's pants. And on it just said, "Your pants," which in England would mean, your crap.
I once asked at John Bon Jovi, and he had a pig's head thrown on stage.
Amazing.
A real pig's head.
No way.
Imagine somebody taking it to a concert from the butcher.
Yeah.
Just to throw it on stage.
You'd think the security in any concert would kind of say, "Hey mate, sorry, pig's heads aren't allowed." But which country was that in, do you know? We should find out. Yeah.
Weird stuff. Suppose there's a biography written about you, very truthful, would you recommend the read?
I mean, I guess if I get some of the royalties, then I'll market that. I'd put it out around about October, just before Christmas time, and I think we could.
That's clever.
I think we could go for it.
If
we exaggerate some of the stories. I've actually got a book deal, and I'm going to do something similar to that soon. Sort of base it on the truth.
Do you want to write it yourself? Autobiography?
Well, only if you're allowed to lie. And keep the names the same.
You're not a good liar,
I think the saddest thing in these things is when you have to, change the names to protect the innocent. It'd be much better to keep the names the same.
Yeah, sure. So you're not a good liar?
I'm a very good liar.
You are?
Yeah.
What was the last lie you told?
About 2 minutes ago.
Oh, damn. Which one? Have to watch the interview and then find out where you lied.
Yeah.
Now, for the end, is there anything you have learned from this conversation or learned today?
Yeah, you know, normally I'm quite... Normally I keep things quite close to myself, but I've quite enjoyed opening up in some way. You know, it's a strange thing, the music business, in that people want to know lots about you personally, and yet I don't want to. I'm quite protective about my private life and my home life. But the weird dichotomy is that I write very personal songs about my private thoughts and about my private experiences, and then get out on the stage and sing those. And so, yeah, it's a strange dichotomy. I find sometimes uncomfortable with it. But it's been nice to talk to you about them.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate talking to you. You're a top bloke, like I said in the beginning.
Thank you so much. I'll send another check, or I've got cash. I can just give you cash if that's helpful. Do you take
it?
I don't know if you take sterling. It's not so much use here.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You can use it for light fires and stuff.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Dankeschön.
Das war Kafka Deluxe, die Interviews mit James Blunt. Was ich Ihnen gerade gefragt habe, hoffentlich gilt das auch für euch. Haben wir wieder was gelernt. Recht herzlichen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit. Auf Wiedersehen.